Hi, my name is Jim Pavelec. In this video I'm going to show you how I painted the cover for Dark Horse Comics Eerie number 4. The art brief from the editor said that this issue had a medical theme. So I kind of knew right away that I wanted to go with a 1950s style Dr. Frankenstein kind of thing. So when I went to my thumbnails, I pretty much landed on this one right away. I knew I wanted the doctor in front with a giant kind of creature behind him. And I knew that I wanted the creature to be strapped onto some kind of table. The editor signed off on the thumbnails and I went right into my main drawing, which I do on 12 by 18 toned paper with graphite and white charcoal to bring up the highlights. I made the table completely upright and wanted the creature strapped into it with really thick leather restraints. And then I went in and added just all kinds of little medical things that I looked up online. Once I got approval from the editor on my final drawing, I scanned it into my computer, opened it up in Photoshop, and then I went into the image setting, went down to adjustments, went into selective color, and chose neutrals. And then in there you can move the slider around to get any kind of color you want on your grays, but I chose to go with kind of a traditional sepia colored underpainting, so I just moved my yellow and magenta sliders to where I needed them and saved that file and sent it to my printer, who can print larger than I can at home, so I was able to get this printed out at 14 by 21 inches. Once I got the piece back from the printer, I took it to my studio and got ready to mount it to Masonite. You start by flipping the piece over and coating the back with an acrylic medium. I use acrylic gloss medium. Just squeeze it all over the place there. I got a 3-inch house painting brush, and I just brush all of that medium into the paper, make sure I get all the edges really good. Now I'll do the same thing on the front of the Masonite. Again, making sure I cover all of the surface of the Masonite and work it in really good. Then I'll grab the paper, flip it over, and press the two wet sides together onto the Masonite. Line up my edges nice and straight, and just with my hand start to get all the big air pockets out and try and flatten the piece of paper as flatly as I can to the Masonite before I take out the brayer. Once the piece is lined up and pretty firmly in place, I'll take my brayer out and press as hard as I can onto the paper to get any little air pockets out and make sure that the piece is completely flush to the Masonite. Once I feel like I've gotten all the air pockets out with the brayer, I'll hold it up to the light and move it around different angles just to make sure that there's no little air pockets or little bubbles left and that it's completely flat. Once that stage is finished, I take out an acrylic matte medium and just start to apply it right to the board, and take about a 1-inch brush and work that medium into the paper. Get all the big ridges out of it. I'm not trying to get it completely smooth. I want there to be a little bit of tooth to the ground so that, my paint has something to grab onto. That'll dry really quickly, and then I can just take it right over to my easel and start painting. Now that I've got the painting on the easel and my palette set up, I'm ready to get going. I'm going to start on the background. I'm going to use Mars Black. And you can see there I'm mixing in off camera a little bit of my medium, which is liquid, to thin out the paint. And I'm just going to lay that in a very thin layer in the background. A lot of artists don't like to use black. They like to mix their blacks with various browns and blues, but for this kind of painting I think black is the way to go to kind of get that Caravaggio-esque feel, if you will, super dark shadows, and then I'll be able to pull my lights up from that, and I think it'll give me the effect I'm looking for. Let's look at a few still images now to track the progress of the painting. This is the painting after my first layer of blacks. Then you can see here I've started to lay in some warm tones on the table that he's on and on the restraints. I've also started to lay in his skin color a little bit. I wanted it to be kind of grayed out so that the doctor would stand out from him quite a bit. And then I'm also at this point scrubbing in some yellow from the light from the side. That yellow light's going to really help set up that kind of B-movie horror feel that I'm looking for, as well as help bring the doctor away from the monster. Gonna jump ahead a little bit here. I've painted pretty much of the flesh of the monster. I mixed a lot of warms and cools on his flesh. I like to do that just for variety, to make things interesting for the eye. If it's all just one skin color and there's no variation, it becomes very boring for the viewer. And then I've also on the doctor got his face fleshed out pretty well. Still not really happy with it at this point. I'm going to talk about that later. And I moved into the jacket. The jacket is white, but I'm not painting with straight white. I'm graying it down quite a bit, and I'm adding some warms and cools in there again for variety. At this point, as you can see, I'm out of my studio and at my friend Aaron Miller's studio. A friend of ours, Thomas Babby, came down and we had a couple-day painting session. There's Tom's dragon that he was working on. This is really helpful because your friends can give you insight right away if something looks wrong. They can help you figure out how to fix it. And, you know, if you have the ability to do this, I highly recommend it. And there you see Aaron painting on his satyr. Here's a still of me working on the doctor's jacket. I'm using a 1/2-inch angle brush. I'm painting pretty loosely here, for me at least. Letting a lot of the underpainting show through. I just don't want it to be really detailed and distract from the doctor's face or the creature in the background. Also, you can see my hand resting on that stick there. That's called a maul stick. It attaches to my easel, and it just keeps you from putting your hand in the wet paint. So we're getting near the end here. I'm just adding in more details in the background. Also, as I mentioned before, I wasn't really happy with the doctor's face, so I went in and wiped it out and repainted it. And here you can see a version I'm more happy with. I want to get the eyes almost completely in shadow. And I just think the forms of the face are working a little better, and the lighting on it makes more sense to me now. So I'm going to stick with that and finish it up. Here you can see the final version of the painting. I've gone in and just got the final details right on the doctor's face and his hand. Just added a few more warms and cools on the jacket, and got all the details in the background nailed down that I wanted. And that's the final painting. The editor signed off on it, and it will be printed within a couple of months. And that's how it works. If you'd like to see more of my work, just go to www.jimpavelec.com. There's all kinds of good stuff there for you to see. Thanks for watching. Bye.